Hi. So today I'll be presenting my research on Canada's grocery oligopoly and how it impacts the country's economy. And I chose this topic because it affects every Canadian directly, uh, especially with the rising cost of food. So to introduce the subject, a grocery oligopoly means that the majority of our food market is controlled by a small number of large companies. So in Canada, the three biggest chains are Loblaws, Metro, and Sobeys, and they control more than half of all grocery sales. This structure gives them a lot of power over prices, suppliers, and even what products consumers can buy. With my presentation, I will explain how this situation started, what key events happened recently, and how it affects important economic indicators like CPI, GDP, employment, etc. To give a brief history of what happened, before 2022, Canada's grocery sector was already becoming more concentrated. Over the last 20 years, big chains bought many independent stores and smaller grocery companies. This process is called consolidation. This is reducing competition and made it harder for new businesses to enter the market. Private label brands, national distribution networks, and large-scale logistics systems gave the major chains huge advantages over independent stores. By around 2015 to 2020, most regions of Canada had only two or three real grocery options. So even before the crisis, the oligopoly was already in place. So what happened in 2022 and 2023? Um, there was a big global inflation increase because of supply chain issues, higher energy costs, and the after effects of COVID. During this time, grocery prices in Canada rose at the fastest pace in 40 years. Food inflation remained much higher than general inflation, and grocery chains reported record profits, which led to accusation of greedflation. Loblaws announced a temporary price freeze, which created even more public debate, and the Competition Bureau of Canada investigated and concluded that competition in groceries is significantly weaker than it should be. So these events made Canadians aware of how much power these big grocery companies have. The first economic impact that I'm going to talk about is CPI. The grocery oligopoly has a direct impact on CPI, especially the food component. Because only a few companies control the market, they can adjust prices with less competitive pressure. When production or transportation costs go up, they pass these costs on to consumers very quickly. But when their costs go down, prices often do not drop. This makes inflation sticky. Even if the economy cools down, grocery prices remain high because the oligopoly structure reduces price competition. So, the oligopoly contributes to a higher and more persistent food inflation. The second economic impact is the impact that it has on GDP. When prices increase, total revenue in the grocery store sector goes up, even if Canadians are buying fewer items. This means that the GDP can rise without the real economy becoming stronger. So the oligopoly affects GDP in two ways. It artificially boosts retail GDP through higher prices, and it reduces consumer spending power, which hurts other sectors of the economy. This creates a misleading picture. the GDP rises, but Canadians are actually struggling more financially. The third impact is on employment and the competition. So the grocery oligopoly also affects competition and employment. Because the major chains dominate the market, small independent grocers have trouble surviving. This reduces competition, meaning fewer choices and higher prices for consumers. But when independent stores close, communities lose local employees as well. But the big chains do create jobs, but they also reduce the number of small businesses that used to compete with them. For workers, an oligopoly can mean fewer employers to choose from, which weakens employees' bargaining power and pushes wages down as well. So, to clarify the difference between what was going on before and after the events, before 2022, uh, prices were rising slowly but steadily. The oligopoly existed, but most Canadians didn't pay as much attention. Food inflation usually stayed close to general inflation. But after 2022, food prices increased by 10 to 12% at some points, the largest that we've seen in decades. Essentials like bread, meat, produce, and dairy became much more expensive. Families drastically changed their shopping habits or switched stores, and public trust in grocery companies dropped as well. Government investigations officially confirmed that lack of competition made the situation worse. To conclude, Canada's grocery oligopoly is the result of decades of consolidation that left only a few companies in control of the food market. The events of 2022-2023 expose how fragile this structure is and how much influence these companies have on prices. This oligopoly increases inflation, impacts GDP, reduces competition, and affects employment and suppliers. The before and after difference shows that the market structure itself plays a major role in why food prices stay so high. So thank you for listening to my presentation, and here are my sources for this presentation as well. Thank you.